Can you hear me now, you fucks? This is the MMA Nerd podcast. I'm your host, the MMA Nerd. I want to start off by saying that the UG is made up of a bunch of fat, sweaty virgins. And Sure Dog is way better. Just kidding. I really want to thank you guys for the feedback, whether they're positive, negative, obviously. I appreciate the positive ones. Thank you for those. But even the negative ones, I appreciate them all. Because of that, I got a new mic. And, well, I was going to get one anyways, obviously, but it really gave me incentive to get a new mic and to figure out how to do some audio editing. And obviously, I'm still not all there with it. I'm still trying. This is all new to me, but I appreciate it. Negative, positive, I appreciate it. Thank you. And also, I can see totally how I came off as a total fucking dickhead. I really do. I'm not even going to dispute that. I came off totally like if I was just using the forums to promote my podcast, and totally wasn't my intentions, actually. Again, I can totally see how it comes off that way, and if you still think that way, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm all with you. I'm on board, but I just really want to be a part of the community, and I want to have a voice to give out to the community. I've been training martial arts for 13 years. I've been training MMA for 13 years. And I started at a pretty young age. And to be honest, martial arts is all I know. MMA, in many ways, is all I know. And obviously you can tell by the shitty recording I did last time and the shitty job I did and my really shitty way of not projecting my voice. I totally have that issue, and that's something that this will help me. So bear with me here, guys, and if it's still too low or I'm mumbling really bad, you can shit on me. I give you all rights to shit on me. That's gonna fuel me to speak better, to project my voice better, and to actually move my mouth when I'm speaking. So on that, let's go on with some news. Kind of late in the game here because a lot of people already have been talking about the cancellation of 249, and I'm still going to talk about it because it's kind of really the only news going on besides really weird trash talk and John Jones' personal problems that he's been having. So I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's just go with 249. The feeling that I have of the cancellation of 249 is bittersweet. If you listened to my last podcast, which I'm pretty sure most of you didn't, because I wouldn't have either. But if you did, you would have heard my opinion about 249 going on, and I didn't think it was right. And I didn't like the fact that they were going about doing this when we're in the middle of a pandemic. And I don't think it's right to punish people that are not willing to fight during a pandemic and have other people maybe step over their opportunity just because they're willing to risk their safety and the safety of others, like let's say their family or whoever's working there at the arena or just themselves. And I don't think it was a good idea to go about this. I totally see why they wanted to, obviously, right now to be the only sport being televised, essentially, obviously through a paywall, but to be televised and to have no other competition, it's a dream come true for a promoter or just a sports league. I totally see why they're going to continue to go forward about it. I personally would. If I was in their shoes, I will not be playing this moral high ground, most likely, because money talks, and when you're trying to build a legacy as well, you're willing to do anything to take advantage of moments that you can and put your product out there over everybody else's and have a head start. I totally see why they wanted to continue. But someone standing far away from the situation, I think it's wrong. I'm glad they didn't do it. They are still going to do the May 9th card, which we're going to speak about now. But I'm just glad they didn't go about it. And this May 9th card is going to be interesting. Do I 100% agree with the May 9th card going also? Of course not. But it is what it is, right? The best you can do is just kind of enjoy what comes at you, especially at these moments, man. Like, some fights would be really great right now. It would be much needed. But at the same time, is it the most ethical way to go about it? And probably not. So, let's go with the May 9th card. I'm not sure if it's going to be 250 or 249. I think it's going to be 250. And they're just going to say 249 didn't happen. So, interesting there. It might be taking place in Florida. If it gets taken place in Florida, that's hilarious because, Florida man memes and whatnot. And Florida being known as the state of the craziness. I agree. I live in Florida. It's really funny because we don't get a lot of fights over here. And we're going to have fights here. And I won't be able to go, which sucks. But it seems like the headline for this card will be Gaethje and Tony, which was going to be the headline last second for the other 249. Again, like I said, the last podcast and nobody listened to, I don't like the Tony and Gaethje fight because I don't like the fact that the timeline of the sport is going to be changing due to a pandemic and rushing fights. I really like the Tony and Khabib fight, and this fight can totally mess that up. We've been waiting for so long for the Tony Khabib fight, and if Gaethje wins, or let's say Tony gets injured in a way that he won't be able to compete anytime soon, that can totally just ruin. No, it will ruin Khabib versus Tony, and I understand they've tried this fight so many times, but I don't think sacrificing that matchup just for the sake of doing fights, it's rough. At the same time, Tony hasn't been fighting a lot, and he's 37 years old. I can see why he wants to fight, and he's willing to just take a fight with anybody. He has a family, obviously. His career can only last for so long. It's probably at the end, to be honest. Not the end as in like he's going to retire soon, but it might be the end of his peak coming up. We can start seeing a kind of a diminished version of Tony coming in from here on out. He's 37 and he suffered a lot of injuries, and he's been doing combat sports for a long time. Wrestling is no joke on your body. And at 37, it's hopefully we get some more time with Tony, and hopefully we get that Khabib fight, but I guess we'll see. I also like the Gaethje and Conor matchup. I'm a Conor nut hugger, I guess you can say. I liked his open-mindedness that he brought to MMA. I like the creativity he brought into MMA. I know a lot of people shit on him on the whole touch butt thing, but he brings in so many tools and connects them so well. Now, I'm not sure. Now that he's added more boxing and he seems to have a kind of a different style, we have to see more of him. But that's another tangent for another day. I think Conor's also looking diminished compared to his old ways. I know it sounds crazy because he just won against Cowboy, but that Cowboy fight was such an easy matchup for him. But that would be another topic for another day. But I want to see Gaethje versus Conor because I thought that was a good matchup for Conor. I thought that was going to be a good matchup for him to utilize his distance and kind of bring Gaethje into his game. And I thought it was going to be a good fight for Conor, and I thought it was going to be a good warm-up fight for the winner of Tony and Khabib. If Gaethje loses, now where will that matchup be? Will it still be an option for Conor? I guess it depends on where the fight goes, right? If Gaethje looks good coming in and he presses forward, does his thing, and it's a close fight, then Gaethje versus Conor will look good, maybe even better in many ways. But at the same time, if it is a close fight like that, or let's say he gets starched or he gets submitted, well, is that fight still going to happen? Will it still be appealing? At that point, would it be worth it for him? I don't want to see Conor versus Dustin. I don't. Conor doesn't really do rematches unless he loses, obviously. And I don't think that's an appealing matchup. The first fight was good enough for me, and I don't need to see a second one. But yeah, so that's my whole opinion on Tony and Gaethje fighting, and I'd prefer it not to happen. But if it does happen, I'm not going to bitch and moan and complain about it because I'm just excited for fights right now, and I'm pretty sure you guys are too. It seems like the next fight on the card, which is another weird fight, is Cejudo versus Dominic. These fights are weird because people are jumping up in the queue for reasons that they shouldn't Well, not saying that Gaethje shouldn't be jumped up in the queue because he is on a win streak right now and he's looked good his last couple fights. But the Cejudo and Dominic fight is an interesting one. Dominic hasn't been in the ring, I believe, for 3 years. And the last time he showed up, he went against Cody Garbrandt. He didn't look that great in that fight. He was more of a front runner of that fight, which was interesting. And then at the post-fight press conference, if you guys watched that, he was very, very humbled at his loss, and he took it very well. But he almost made it seem like he was playing to the crowd, which I don't know if that's true or not. And if it is true, hey, don't do that, right? Don't do that. Play your game. Continue to do what made you the champion that you are, using the weird angular footwork that he does. Speaking speaking on his footwork, he actually, if you go to Dominic Cruz's Instagram, he has a link to some videos he made about his footwork. The website's not the best. It's really weird, and they send you a password, so you have to put in your own password, their password, I mean, and it's not the easily navigating website. It seems very basic and weird. Hopefully he develops it further because it's interesting. He gives some tips on his footwork, and they're tutorial videos. So check that out, guys. If you guys are really technique nerds, which I'm a pretty big technique nerd, definitely go check that out. It's pretty cool. But that Cejudo and Dominic Cruz fight seems very interesting because Cejudo has been coming out like a karate fighter with a wide stance, creating or keeping good distance to a degree. His fight versus Wilson Hayes was very interesting. He came out looking almost like a Conor McGregor with the wide stance and the really good distance maintenance and leading them into that cross. It was very interesting because he was setting up traps with that footwork, and it was very interesting. That's actually something I want to make a video on, is keeping distance using your, what they call in traditional Japanese martial arts is mai, and it's keeping a further distance, about two legs, two bodies distance away. And there's a couple guys out there that are really good at it, and you're seeing Henry Cejudo develop that. Now, since he wasn't brought up doing this, and I'm not sure how much he's developed it and he works on it properly with proper drills and forms, I'm not sure how he's integrating it with the striking he had before, but it obviously didn't play such a good role against Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes just tore up his legs. It was an interesting fight because you can see right away that Henry Cejudo didn't really have an answer for the leg kicks that Moraes was throwing at him, and that's one thing you have to learn how to deal with that bladed stance, that very wide stance, is leg kicks. So because of that, you have to keep a longer distance away. So even for someone to leg kick you, there has to be some sort of them initiating to come in. And you're going to be able to see that. And you should have the distance management and the maintenance to keep it where they can't leg kick you. And if they do try to leg kick you, you should be able to either get out of the way, check it, or just counter it, move off at an angle. You should have an answer. And he didn't have an answer for that, which is really interesting because he seemed to have kept such good distance and range with Wilson Hayes. But obviously Wilson Hayes isn't the same caliber of striker that Moraes is. So that's why I thought also the Henry Cejudo fight against Jose Aldo was going to be fascinating, because I think Jose Aldo was going to bring back his leg kicks, because that's obviously a problem that Henry Cejudo had in his last matchup with Moraes. That would have been really interesting to see. But at the same time, Jose Aldo hasn't been throwing leg kicks. But I thought he was going to bring it back. How can you not? You saw how successful it was against Henry Cejudo. Just why wouldn't he? Unless he has a really bad injury, I don't see why he wouldn't. And I don't think Henry Cejudo would be able to box up Jose Aldo how he did with Marlon Moraes. I don't think Jose Aldo would break as fast as Marlon Moraes did. As you can see, his coach was yelling at him about what his mother did to bring him to the opportunity where he's at fighting for the championship. That is some shit that you bring up where you know your fighter is going to break. And that's not good. That is not good at all. Marlon Moraes was throwing everything into those punches as well. You can see there's times where he swung his hook so hard that he would fall off balance, and you just hear Joe Rogan go, "Oh, and he's rock, blah blah blah, whatever." But he would just swing so hard, he was losing balance, and it was not an efficient way to throw strikes. And I mean, you get hit with those, you get fucked up, right? But at the same time, you miss with those, you get fucked up. And as we saw, that's what happened. He was throwing everything into these like check left hooks and everything into these kicks, and if you look at the fight, he was missing a lot of those punches that he was throwing everything into. And again, he was getting off balance because of it. And when you miss strikes, man, it mentally messes with you. And it gets you even more tired, especially when you got this guy coming at you and coming at you. It's not easy. But so, on that, and I don't think he's going to just come in like that with Dominic Cruz and be able to box him up close, right? Like, let's say he does bring a lot of pressure to Dominic Cruz. Obviously, the angular footwork that he brings in and those pivot steps that he does, those diamond steps that he does, and the D'Amato step that he does, the shuffling, it's very hard to predict. And if you come at him, you're going to be getting hit with all these angles, and you got to be prepared for those angles, which obviously I think he is, because you're fighting him, so you're going to be prepared for it. It would be interesting to see those two styles clash too. Seeing Henry Cejudo, if he actually does come in how he has come in the last two fights with that wide stance, it would be interesting to see how does that play out with someone that has that neo-style modern footwork that Dominic Cruz kind of invented in MMA terms, and how TJ kind of brought it into his style. Or his way of moving and the way that Dwayne Ludwig developed it. It's very interesting because I don't think we've seen that karate footwork match up against that neo footwork. And to me, that's why I'm really interested in this fight, because we already saw how that hard leg kick Muay Thai style matches up with the wide stance. Obviously, we've seen this many times in history. You just look back at traditional karate guys fighting Muay Thai fighters, and you can see how the leg kick plays a big role and a big factor in it. And then you have a guy like Wonderboy that can adapt to the leg kicks, and he doesn't really get leg kicked much, and he has a really good lead leg that can stop that leg kick, and he can go high up with a hook kick and have that side kick jamming at them when they're trying to leg kick. And we've seen this. But we haven't seen the matchup between that karate footwork or stance with the new modern neo-style footwork. It will be very interesting and weird because you're going to have one guy bouncing all these certain weird angles, and then you're going to have a guy that comes in very linearly and keeping a good distance. And it might very well turn into a boring fight because you both need engagement for them to work. Now, the only thing here is that Henry Cejudo doesn't just come from a traditional karate background. So he doesn't have that very good lead leg that Wonderboy has, or even Conor had. Conor obviously threw a variety of kicks that it made him more aggressive, and he wasn't just a pure counter fighter. He was in the sense that he was throwing strikes so you can throw out what he wanted so that he can counter. So in a way, he is a counter fighter. Obviously, that's a correct counter fighter, is someone that knows how you're going to react and puts you in a position and in a spot to instinctively attack in a way that goes right into his defensive movement patterns so that he can counter you. Henry Cejudo doesn't really have that style locked in. He doesn't have that foot with all that dexterity to throw in side kicks and hook kicks and lead round kicks, Mawashi Gettys. He doesn't really have that. He doesn't have that super foot Wallace style kicks, right? He doesn't have the dexterity in his legs. He doesn't have the proper bounce that you see in traditional kumite, right? He doesn't really have that developed. Hopefully he has been developing it, because that'll make a more interesting matchup, in my opinion, just to have that on record. It would be cool to see, and I look forward to seeing this fight because of that, because it's a matchup we haven't really seen before. What also makes it interesting is the fact that they're both wrestlers. Obviously, Henry Cejudo is more decorated in a world level because he's a gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, which obviously freestyle wrestling isn't the best for MMA, which I think a lot of people don't really know the difference. But just to quickly throw it out there, folk style forces you to develop how to control somebody from the referee position and how to escape the referee position. And that's really key for MMA because you have to learn how to leg ride and wrist ride, kind of like how Habib does, right? He does like a wrist ride, even though he doesn't come from a traditional folk style wrestling program. He's developed a good folk style base, as in the wrist riding and the leg riding. He mixed it in with his own sambo stuff, but having that folk style control is very key for MMA because it's going to dictate whether you keep somebody on the ground or if you can get up or not. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out too. The difference in their styles, because even though Henry Cejudo does come, obviously he's American, he comes from a folk style background, he was way more successful in freestyle. And you can see in his fighting as well that he's not really key on keeping people in that referee position and leg riding and wrist riding and being able to stay on them. And Dominic Cruz obviously has wrestling background, and he has developed his wrestling more for MMA for a longer period of time, and I think he does a fantastic job getting up, and I don't think Henry Cejudo is going to be able to keep him down because I don't believe he's developed a wrestling style that keeps somebody on the ground, especially somebody that knows how to scramble up very well and very fast like a Dominic Cruz. So yeah, that fight seems interesting to me, and I hope you guys find it interesting too. So on to the next fight is Old Man Oleinik versus Verdum, which is really funny that I say that, Old Man Oleinik, because he has 72 fights, and he's been fighting since 1996. Okay, guys, 96. Dude has been fighting MMA since 96. Okay, but it's interesting that I say that because both guys are 42 years old. They're both the same age. So, God, that's rough. Oleinik looks rough, but it's an interesting fight. Both grapplers. Verdum comes in with a more traditional Muay Thai style. He comes from that Rafael Cordero Muay Thai shoot the box style, meaning they're not great defensively, but offensively they're tricky. And Oleinik obviously has that just straight up old Sambo style where he just clobbers on you. He's really tricky, as in Oleinik. His grappling is very tricky. He Ezekiel's people from Mount, which is so weird. Do you know how much confidence you need in a submission to grab somebody and be like, fuck this, I'm gonna put them on top of me? And especially a heavyweight, you're like, I'm gonna get this big ass motherfucker and I'm gonna hug him really hard and then have him ride my abdomen as I choke him. It requires so much confidence to do that. I've also heard it's really hard to escape out of that because of the gloves. Also, like, it's like stuck in there because of the gloves. So that could also lead to some confidence there. But he's a tricky grappler. He actually beat Jeff Monson back in the day. I think in 2013, he tapped out Jeff Monson. I believe it was a rear naked choke. So he has some history of beating grapplers. Obviously, Monson is not really at the same level as Verdum in Jiu-Jitsu. I'm not even gonna lie, guys. I don't know if they even face each other in Jiu-Jitsu. I will have to go and research that, and then in the next episode, if I'm wrong, I'll tell you guys. But Verdum has a more extensive grappling career than Oleinik. I don't think Oleinik is going to be able to just out-grapple Verdum. And standing-wise, I feel like Verdum is a little more tricky. He has that long knee that he likes to throw. He's really good in the clinch with his elbows, and he has a weird style, but he's very long. Obviously, at times, again, coming from that shoot the box Cordero style, he does come in sometimes with just his chin up and ready to just bang it out, and I don't think that's going to be great against any heavyweight. Oleinik, he's a big dude, and if he catches you, you're fucked. But I don't want to make predictions for fights. That's something I don't see myself doing, but I think Verdum can take this. Verdum, I believe, is coming off a loss, and I believe Oleinik is coming off a win. So that's interesting too. So the momentum's going on Oleinik's side here, but we'll see how it plays out. It'll be very interesting to see. Those are two big dudes that are going to sling it out. And speaking of two big dudes that are going to sling it out, hopefully not sexually, is Francis Ngannou versus Rosenstruck. And God, man, it is going to be a crazy fight. Rosenstruck knocked out Alistair. That shit was filthy. And the fight was interesting. Overeem was winning. He just came back and knocked him out. I think there's only a couple seconds left too, which was kind of crazy. It goes to show his mental fortitude and that he maintains power, right? He doesn't gas out and he can just fuck you up. And that's a good thing to have, especially someone like Francis that's a front runner. And Francis seems to mentally decline as the fight goes on, especially if it's a high-paced matchup like we saw with Stipe, where he could not keep up with Stipe. He just broke and had zero cardio. He just did zero cardio. Some people said he just only hit the bag and he didn't really train for that fight. So hopefully he's training for this fight, and Francis will come in with more refined striking. He's a big dude, so if he just catches you, you're fucked. And that's pretty much the theme of this fight is, can Francis knock out Rosenstruck in the beginning rounds? And if Rosenstruck, can he deal with the pressure and the intimidation in many ways of Francis Ngannou? Can he deal with that? And then can he capitalize later like he did with Alistair Overeem and catch Francis Ngannou? And also, can Francis Ngannou keep a pace as the rounds go? Is his cardio going to come in better? Is he going to come in actually more of a veteran and take more of a slower approach? And we'll see. We'll see. So that is obviously pretty interesting matchup right there. Two big dudes slanging it out, not sexually. And and I think I'm going to end it around this time. I don't want to push it too far since I have to go back and edit some things because obviously I'm not the great at speaking, so I have to take out some ums and shit because I'm everywhere. But thanks whoever listened to this. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate the feedback. If you can, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. If you guys have any recommendations or tips to help me out, man, please just put it in the comment section. You can email me. My email is going to be in the description down below. I really appreciate the feedback again and you guys watching. If you can, also leave a question and I'll answer it. I don't have a lot of people obviously watching this, and I don't have a lot of people asking me questions. So ask me a question. I will definitely answer you. So yeah, just if you can, leave a question, some tips, some feedback. And thank you guys so much. Again, like I said, this is something I always wanted to do. This is kind of like a dream of mine. I know it sounds ridiculous because, like, why is a podcast a dream for you? But it just is. I've been listening to podcasts since I was pretty young, and martial arts is my passion. I've been doing martial arts since I was a kid, and I have some opinions. They might not be the best ones, but I have some opinions. I have some things I want to say, and I want to come out with content breaking down fighters with techniques that I've learned and principles and concepts that I've learned throughout the years and things that I've kind of figured on my own and things that I've learned from coaches of mine. And I just want to bring that to an audience and to you guys. And this, to me, is a big deal, and I hope you guys hear improvements, you guys see improvements, you guys appreciate the improvements, and I appreciate the feedback again, guys. I love you guys, and I'll be back soon, hopefully. So like, subscribe, and again, please just help me out, guys, and send me some feedback, questions. I'll answer them. Take care, guys. Stay safe. Wear your masks. Look sexy. Peace.